From Albany, a recent Supreme Court decision, Citizens United, outraged many people. I guess it pleased many people. How would you ensure that corporate contributions do not overwhelm and drown out individual citizen voices in elections?
I think that's a superb question, and I believe we need to recognize that the effect of virtually all efforts to limit political speech, which I believe are unconstitutional, have crippled middle-class candidates, helped the very rich, and helped big institutions. Fact is, Bloomberg could not have been reelected without a massive advantage in money over his opponent. Fact is, the last governor of New Jersey couldn't have won if he hadn't been able to drown his opponent. So you now have a system of law that says if you can get big enough interest to back you through PAC systems, whether it's BP giving to certain candidates who don't need to be named tonight, or Goldman Sachs giving to certain candidates, et cetera, if you can't amass that scale, then if you're middle class, you can't even run. I think you'd have a much healthier and freer system if you said any American can give any amount of after-tax income as long as they report it every night on the internet so everybody else can determine who's supporting who. Make it a clean, simple system, and then every middle-class candidate can go out, and there were enough successful people in this city that any competitor for Mayor Bloomberg would have been fully funded.
Does that include, when you say every person can give as much as he or she wants, does that include corporations and labor unions?
It certainly includes labor unions.
But
who already have that right. I mean, notice the labor unions, who are the largest single donor of the Democratic Party, are shocked that corporations are going to be allowed to be in politics.
This comes down to what the Supreme Court in, I don't know, over the last X years, I can't remember when it started, maybe Buckley versus Vallejo back in the day, basically argues that money is speech.
Right, for a practical reason. It is.
Well, but the alternative argument is, or one of them is, look, the First Amendment does not prevent time, place, and manner restrictions. That's, in other words, you can't.
Congress shall make no law abridging. Strikes me as fairly comprehensive.
No, Newt, I'm sorry. You all talk about, you're a historian. I actually never took the bar, but I do have a law degree. And time, place, and manner restrictions have never been struck down by the court. What that means, for instance, is you can't hand out election material within like 100 feet of a polling place. You can't have a demonstration.
Unless you're Acorn.
Huh?
I said unless you're Acorn.
Nobody gets to do it. You can't stage a demonstration, or in fact, it was done to the great outrage of legitimate outrage of Nina Easton. You can have demonstrations, but you can't have demonstrations with loudspeakers at midnight in a residential neighborhood. Those are time, place, and manner restrictions. They're content neutral. They've always been okayed. And the question is whether or not the restriction of money can be equated.
But I'm not making a legalistic argument. I'm saying as a matter of good public policy in a free society, the people who most fear the ability of everyone to spend whatever they can raise are the incumbents. Because the incumbents take tax money, and the incumbents take all. I mean, look at the scale of money Schumer has. You get 6 years as a senator, you have all the staff paid for, you have all the power of a senatorial office, you have all sorts of people coming to you because you have a $4.2 trillion government, which has all sorts of opportunities. And then at the end of the 6 years, you say, now we're going to restrict everybody else to $5,000 donations. And then, surprise, there's no competition, because you can't possibly compete. So functional free speech, the effective free speech, the original purpose by the Founding Fathers, which was to challenge the state. I mean, the Founding Fathers are very, very opposed to a state dominating its citizens. And that's the reason you have the First Amendment. It was put in by Jefferson because of the opposition.
So basically, the answer is not what this questioner suggests, but the reverse. I mean, just get every restriction off and have full disclosure.
As long as it is disclosed every night on the internet and everybody knows who's funding everybody, then let them fight it out. And that way, if you're a reasonably competent middle-class candidate, you will have enough support to be on television, you'll have enough support to be on the internet, and you'll be able to compete with millionaires, and you'll be able to compete with those who currently dominate you because they're backed by the unions.
There's one twist to this that this Supreme Court has acknowledged or has suggested was a I don't know how to describe it. If there was maybe not a restriction on speech, but a restriction on the consequence. It is, I think, the Supreme Court of West Virginia case They had, it sounds like a John Grisham novel, because I think it was. A company had been hit with a big damage suit, and they were appealing to the West Virginia Supreme Court. The company that had been hit with the damage suit, or the CEO, spent, don't hold me to the number, but something like $3 million to finance the campaign of a candidate for Supreme Court justice who then got elected and was the deciding vote to reverse the judgment.
Right.
The Supreme Court said that guy had to recuse himself from that. That this was a case, a clear-cut case, they said, this Supreme Court, where this was a corrupting influence. Now, is that the kind of risk? Do you think that?
Then what would they say about the former governor of New Jersey or the current mayor of New York?
I'm
I mean, why is it you can buy a seat and that's okay under current law,
Look,
but middle-class people can't compete?
I think that the consequence of turning and by the way, once again, forgive me, but this is not a partisan issue. Meg Whitman is now spending at least $68 million to get elected governor.
I'm not defending
Well, but
that.
all I'm saying, Newt, is that the examples tend always to be from one
Bloomberg,
party.
I thought, spent his money as a Republican. How can it be partisan? I mentioned a Republican mayor and a Democratic governor.
Good point. Although Bloomberg is a Republican, not so much. He's an independent. The last time he ran, he was an independent. He's actually run as a Democrat turned Republican, and now a Republican turned independent. So
I thought he became a Republican again.
And then he became an independent.
And then became an independent.
No, I know, it's hard to keep up. Because for all I know, next Tuesday, he's going to be.
I know I should have subscribed to the Post.